Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome. This time we're tackling something pretty complex. Islamic divorce law.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Especially, we're zeroing in on one specific chapter in the Quran, At-Talaq, which literally translates to divorce.
Interesting.
Right. And our listener, well, they're really curious about how this whole thing works.
I bet. It's not exactly something you hear about every day.
Yeah, and they've actually sent us some fascinating sources. We're talking scholarly articles, interpretations, even some personal accounts.
Wow. Sounds like we've got a lot to unpack.
We do. We're going to try to break down this chapter, highlight some key verses, and hopefully uncover, well, maybe even some surprises along the way.
I'm sure we will. Islamic law can be full of, unexpected turns.
Okay, so cracking open At-Talaq.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, it addresses the Prophet Muhammad,
Sure.
right? And lays out some ground rules for divorce. Verse 1 is pretty clear. It should happen during a woman's period of purity, and then there's this waiting period called the Ida that needs to be calculated.
Ah, the Ida, yes.
What's the deal with this timing, do you think?
Well, it's definitely deliberate. It shows a concern for fairness and respect, I think. I mean, you have to think about the woman's physical and emotional state.
Makes sense.
The Ida, it's not just some random waiting time.
Okay.
It's for reflection, maybe even reconciliation.
Oh.
And importantly, it establishes whether she's pregnant,
Which would?
affect how long the waiting period is.
Oh, so it's multi-purpose.
It is, yeah.
Not just legal, but like practical too.
Exactly.
Okay, so then verse 2 comes along,
Yep.
and it's like, all right, after the Ida, you've got two options.
Yeah.
Reconcile or separate. But it has to be done honorably, with witnesses there.
That's a key point, the witnesses.
Why so important, you think?
Well, think about it. They ensure accountability.
Yep.
Everything's out in the open, transparent, to
Right.
prevent disputes, injustices, all that. Especially in a situation as emotionally charged as divorce.
Yeah, it can get messy.
It can. And it really emphasizes the community aspect of Islamic law.
It's not just a private affair.
Not at all.
The community's involved.
Right there with them.
So interesting how these verses weave in, like social and ethical stuff, not just legal rules.
Absolutely. It's holistic.
Then verse 4, it gets specific about the Ida, right?
Yeah.
Different waiting times depending on if a woman's reached menopause or hasn't started menstruating yet, or if she's pregnant.
A lot of people find that surprising.
Really?
Why they don't expect that level of, sensitivity to individual circumstances. It shows that Islamic law isn't just this rigid, one-size-fits-all system.
So it adapts.
It tries to. It wants to be fair and take into account a woman's, physiology, life experiences, all that.
Now things shift in verse 6. We hit financial matters.
Yes. The practical side of things.
It straight up says the husband has to provide housing and support during pregnancy and breastfeeding.
Essential, really.
So even though the marriage is ending.
That responsibility continues.
Interesting. It feels like it's really focused on the woman's well-being and the child's, obviously.
Right. It's about protecting them during a vulnerable time.
And historically.
This kind of legal protection wasn't always there.
So it's kind of progressive.
In a way, yeah.
But it's not just like an open-ended obligation.
No, they're balanced.
Verse 7 clarifies that the support's got to be in line with the husband's means.
Exactly. So it's not about crushing one party. It's about, fairness.
It's not about punishment.
Right.
It's about what's possible.
And that idea of balance and moderation, that's really central to Islamic law.
One thing that really jumps out at me reading these verses is the constant mention of witnesses.
Oh, yeah, that's crucial.
Like, why is truthful testimony so emphasized?
Because, sadly, divorce can get ugly.
Yeah.
There can be false accusations.
Oh, but
Having witnesses,
deters that.
it does. It's like a safeguard.
Plus, it reinforces that this isn't just some behind closed doors thing.
Nope. The community's involved, keeping things honest.
There's also this really intriguing phrase in verse 1. Allah may afterwards bring about a new situation.
Oh, I love that one.
It's like it's acknowledging that things can change,
Right, like maybe there's a chance for reconciliation down the line.
even after starting the process.
Yeah. Islamic law, it doesn't see divorce as this absolute final ending.
More like a pause.
Maybe, yeah, a chance to reassess. If both parties are willing, of course.
So it's not about forcing people apart.
No, it's about finding a solution that, works for everyone.
And there's this strong sense of like trusting in Allah's plan throughout the whole chapter.
Definitely. Several verses even reassure people that, He'll provide for them, make a way out, even when things feel scary.
It's comforting, isn't it?
It is, especially during something as stressful as divorce.
You're not alone kind of vibe.
Exactly. You have your faith to lean on.
So as we wrap up our look at Talaq, what are the big takeaways for you?
For me, it's the attention to detail,
Yeah.
how meticulous the whole process is.
Right.
And that focus on fairness, respect, responsibility, all of it.
It's not what people might assume about Islamic divorce law.
Not at all. It's really a measured, thoughtful approach.
It is.
And it just shows how exploring legal systems from other cultures, it can really challenge our preconceptions.
And make us realize, like,
There are different ways of approaching things.
especially universal experiences,
Yeah.
like divorce.
Exactly.
Now, before we go, I want to leave everyone with a thought.
All right.
We saw how At-Talaq emphasizes community, right? And the possibility of reconciliation.
Yeah.
How do you think those principles could be applied outside of just divorce?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Like in conflicts in society in general?
Makes you think about how we approach conflict resolution, doesn't it?
Right. Is there room for more fairness, more empathy?
A lot to ponder there.
And that's our deep dive for today. We just scratched the surface, but hopefully it made you curious to explore more.
There's always more to learn.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving.